Hey everybody, this is Pastor John. It is time for our 7 at 7. And, I'm excited about this because every night we get to bring some encouragement, some hope to you. Hopefully this is something that people tune into. When they do, they just walk away from it a little bit better, a little bit happier, a little bit more filled with hope and encouragement, because that's what this is all about. So what I'm going to talk to you tonight about is that we are never alone. And I know in a time of quarantine that it might seem like you're alone, or that you're just isolated or whatever. But a couple things I want to read tonight is from the New Testament, from the Gospels, where Jesus is talking to his disciples and he's encouraging them. He's talking to them about just what's going to happen next. And, before I get into it, though, I just want to say that this morning the message Ron had was just fantastic. It was great. If you haven't listened to it, I just would encourage you to do that. There's a reason for hope is the title of his message, and he gives some reasons in there. And I'm telling you what, if you listen to that, there's no way you walk away from that feeling worse or let down, because the reasons that we have a hope are plainly spelled out there, and it was just a great message. So, and in this season that we're in right now, having hope is something that we all need, having a little bit of encouragement and understanding that Jesus is the reason for our hope. And so I'm going to tie this in tonight to never alone, is we have hope because we're never by ourselves. We're never alone. We're never left as orphans. We're never left without someone who's there to guide us, to lead us. So I want to talk about, this is kind of a funny verse when you think about it, but Matthew 28:20, it says, and this is, let me just start in verse 18, but it says, "All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth." This is Jesus speaking. And he says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the ends of the earth." Now that's great. He's with us always. But if you look here, and then you can look at the other Gospels, Mark and Luke, basically right after he says this, he goes away. So she's like, "Hey, I'm with you always, bye-bye." And he leaves. And I'm sure the disciples were kind of like, "Well, this is not what you just said." But so to get a better context in what he's talking about, what he's doing, is let's look over in John. And we're going to spend some time in the book of John, about 4.5 minutes, it looks like. So, but there's several scriptures in here from verse 14, or chapters 14 through 16, about the Holy Spirit. And he's talking about that. He says, "I will never leave you nor forsake you," over in Hebrews, I think 13:5. But he says, "I am with you always." And I love it because he says, "I'm with you always." And then he leaves, but he sends the Holy Spirit. Because really there is no difference between the Holy Spirit and Jesus. They're the same. They have the same power, same authority, same access to the Father. They're all together. They're all one. So he says in chapter 14, verse 16, I love it. He says, where am I at? Here you go. He says, "And I will pray the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may abide with you forever." So now this is prelude to Matthew 28. So this happens before that. But Jesus is telling them, "Hey, you are not alone. And even when you think you're alone, I'm going to send someone to replace me, who's going to be with you forever." And he says, "And the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him." And I think it's interesting. Jesus ties in the physical world and the spiritual world right there together. He says that they don't see him because they're so sense ruled, so sense dominated, that they think the only way to have Jesus with them is if he's with them. They're in the physical. And Jesus has been telling his disciples all along that there's more to it than just what you see. There's so much more involved than just the physical. And he says they don't know him. They don't have an understanding. Their spirit is incapable of knowing him because they haven't been born again yet, that Jesus hasn't died yet. He says, but you know him, for he will dwell with you and will be in you. And he says, I will not leave you orphans. I will come to you. I think those, if you need comfort in this time that you're not alone, those words right there should be enough to just comfort you in this time, that Jesus is always with you. He is in you. He's taken up residence in you. He's made his home in you, that you cannot be separated from Jesus. You cannot be separated from the love of God, that he is, no matter the height nor depth nor width nor anything, nothing can separate you from the love of God. And that love of God is expressed through sending his son Jesus to the earth to be a sacrifice for us, to do something that we couldn't do. God sent Jesus as an expression of his love. And he also sent the Holy Spirit as an expression of his love, because he didn't want to just send Jesus for, the 3 years that he ministered and then pull him out. Now all we have to do is operate from a memory standpoint. He wants it to, because his name is I am, not I was. It is I am, not I will be. It's I am. So he's always with us. And I've got like 5 other scriptures and about 1 minute. So in John 14:26, let's see, he says, but the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring you all things to your remembrance. And bring to your remembrance all things that I said to you. And then he says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. And I love it because God, he said that God will send the Holy Spirit in my name because of what I've done, because of the authority that I've gotten back for humankind, for the dominion that I have, that I'll take back. He's going to send the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit's going to be here to lead you and guide you and just be with you in all truth. And let's jump over to John 16:13. It says, however, when he, the Spirit of truth, again, he's reemphasizing this, he will guide you into all truth. For he will not speak of his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will tell you of things to come. So there is 100% a surety that we can know all things. I know that's challenging because it doesn't seem like we know all things. I could take any test out there and I will promise you I don't know all things. However, everything that we need to know for life, for godliness, for peace, that was purchased on the cross by Jesus, we can know all truth. It doesn't say that you'll know all things. Like, you don't have to know the square root of the circumference of the sun. But what we do need to know is that healing belongs to me. What we do need to know is I have the peace of Jesus was given to me so that I can be at peace in the midst of a storm. I can know that I have the joy of the Lord in me. And those are truths. I can know that I've been redeemed because of what Jesus did. I know that I'm a new creature. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things are new. That every time God sees me, he sees Jesus. That's the truth. And that's the truth that will allow you to recognize that when Jesus says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, he won't. He lives inside of us. He takes up residence. The Holy Spirit was sent to lead us, to guide us into that truth of who we really are. Who we are and the way God sees us. Because the way God sees us, the way he defines us is what matters. Not the way someone else defines us, not the way our past defines us. We are defined by the faith of God. I'm telling you what, if you know that, you will understand that you are never alone. There's nothing that will hold you down or keep you away from understanding and experiencing the love that God has for us, because he is always pouring it out for us. So I just want to say thank you very much. I went a little bit long, but thank you for joining us at 7 at 7. Join us tomorrow night. We'll have another 7 at 7 going. I'm telling you what, every night, tune in, share it, send it out. So there's people out there that need encouragement. There's people out there that need hope. There are people dealing with hopeless situations that only the hope that is Christ can make an impact in their life. I love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.